Someone tried to destroy you today. Maybe not physically. Maybe it was a colleague who took credit for your work. Maybe it was someone who smiled at your face and stabbed you in the back. Maybe it was a system that rewarded the wrong people and left you wondering why effort alone never seems to be enough. You felt it. That quiet burn of knowing the world doesn't operate by the rules you were taught. And here's the thing that nobody wants to admit out loud. The people who thrive in this world aren't always the most talented or the most honest. They're the most strategically intelligent. By the time this video ends, you're going to have a completely different understanding of how power and influence actually work. You'll walk away with 8 psychological frameworks used by the most formidable people alive, and you'll know exactly how to apply them to protect yourself, elevate your position, and stop being outmaneuvered by people who are frankly less capable than you. That's my promise to you right now. Let's call this what it is: dark intelligence. And before anyone panics at that phrase, let me be completely upfront. This isn't about becoming a villain. This isn't about exploiting people or cutting ethical corners. This is about understanding the invisible mechanics of human behavior so that nobody can ever use them against you without your awareness. Knowledge used for protection is wisdom. So let's get into it. Trait number 1 is what we can call strategic concealment. Most people treat every conversation like a confessional. Someone asks them a question and out comes everything: their plans, their fears, their motivations, their doubts. They think that openness builds trust, and sometimes it does. But here's what they're actually doing. They're surrendering leverage. The most intriguing, influential people you've ever encountered didn't tell you everything. They shared enough to spark your curiosity, and then they stopped. Think about why that made them more compelling. When you over-explain yourself, you become predictable. When you become predictable, you lose the power that comes from mystery. Selective communication isn't dishonesty. It's the understanding that your information has value, and value diminishes when it's freely distributed to anyone who asks. Guard what you reveal and when you reveal it. Trait number 2 is the adaptive persona. Here's something I want you to sit with for a moment. You're not the same person in every room you enter. You already know this. The version of you that shows up at a job interview is different from the version that shows up at a family dinner. This isn't fake. This is sophisticated. The problem is that most people do this unconsciously and inconsistently. The most powerful communicators do it deliberately. They study the person in front of them and ask what approach will actually land. Is this person analytical? Give them structure and evidence. Are they emotionally driven? Lead with empathy. Are they pragmatic? Show them the mechanism. Think of water. It fills any container it enters, but it never stops being water. Your core values and principles stay fixed. Only the delivery adapts. When you master this, people feel genuinely understood in your presence, and that feeling creates loyalty, trust, and influence that no amount of manipulation can manufacture. Trait number 3 is detachment. This one will feel counterintuitive. True power doesn't come from holding on tightly. It comes from your genuine willingness to let go. When you're desperate for a particular outcome, a deal, a relationship, approval, your desperation becomes visible. People sense it, and the moment they sense it, you've handed them control of the situation. Think about 2 people negotiating. One of them absolutely needs this to work out. The other would like it to work out, but has options and knows it. Who negotiates more effectively? The person with alternatives every single time. Detachment doesn't mean indifference. You can care deeply about your goals while remaining emotionally unbothered by the prospect of not achieving them in this particular way. That composure is magnetic. It signals inner security, and inner security commands respect. Trait number 4 is silent leverage. Stop thinking that power announces itself. Real influence operates below the surface. It's not the person yelling the loudest in the meeting. It's the person whose absence would make the whole room collapse. Silent leverage is built by making yourself genuinely valuable, by consistently solving problems without demanding recognition, by being comfortable in silence when others rush to fill it. Here's a practical experiment. The next time someone asks you a challenging question, don't answer immediately. Pause. Look at them. Let the silence do its work. Watch how the weight of your eventual response increases simply because you took your time. Silent leverage is patient leverage. You're planting seeds, not harvesting them the same day. The compounding effect of consistent, quiet value creation will eventually position you as someone people seek out, follow voluntarily, and treat with a different kind of respect. Now, speaking of building long-term influence and developing yourself strategically, I want to take a moment to share something that directly connects to everything we're discussing. Because here's the truth. Understanding these psychological traits is one piece of the puzzle. But without a complete system for personal mastery, you're still working with fragments. That's exactly the gap that the Self-Mastery Bundle was designed to close. If you've been reading the books, listening to the podcasts, doing the work, and still feeling like something is missing, it's probably not effort. It's the absence of a cohesive system. The Self-Mastery Bundle gives you 30 comprehensive guides and over 210 interactive tools that build on each other to create real, compounding change. It addresses your mindset, your productivity, your habits, your sense of purpose, all of it working together instead of pulling in separate directions. For a limited time, it's available at a special launch price. Check the description below this video for all the details. Now, back to the traits. And while we're here, I want to mention something important. If you're finding this content genuinely useful, please subscribe to this channel, because we consistently go deeper than surface-level advice into the actual psychology behind success, influence, and human behavior. You deserve content that treats you as an intelligent adult. Now let's continue. Trait number 5 is the psychological echo. Every person you meet is carrying something invisible, a desire for recognition, a fear of failure, a need to be genuinely understood. Most people in conversation are too focused on what they want to say to notice any of this. The psychological echo flips that entirely. Instead of listening to respond, you listen to understand, and then you reflect back not just the words, but the underlying emotion. If someone says they hate their job, the surface response is to offer job search advice. But if you listen deeper, you might hear that they feel undervalued, unchallenged, or uncertain about their future. Responding to that deeper layer, acknowledging it, creates a connection that's almost impossible to manufacture any other way. People feel seen, and when someone feels truly seen by you, their trust in you becomes almost effortless. Trait number 6 is what we can call pragmatic ethics. The real world doesn't operate in clean moral categories, and pretending otherwise is a luxury that often produces bad outcomes. This is the most misunderstood trait. It doesn't mean having no values. It means being honest about complexity. Sometimes the kind thing in the short term enables destructive behavior in the long term. Sometimes the uncomfortable truth creates better outcomes than comfortable silence. The question to ask isn't what makes me look like a good person right now. The question is what actually produces the best outcome for the most people over time. And then you have to take responsibility for that answer, even when it's unpopular. Trait number 7 is controlled exposure. In an era where everyone broadcasts every detail of their lives, the person who shares selectively becomes fascinating. Human brains are wired to fixate on incomplete information. When you create gaps, curiosity fills them. Reveal your skills gradually, rather than all at once. Let your depth emerge over time. The person who shows everything on day 1 has nowhere to go. The person who reveals new dimensions consistently over weeks and months becomes increasingly compelling. This applies professionally, socially, and in how you manage your digital presence. You control the narrative. Use that control wisely. Trait number 8 is outcome obsession. Strip away everything that's not moving you toward an actual result. Most people are addicted to looking productive rather than being effective. They win arguments nobody needed to have. They optimize processes that should have been eliminated. They chase visibility instead of impact. When you become obsessed with outcomes, you start asking a completely different set of questions. Not how do I look in this situation, but what result am I actually trying to create? Not how do I defend my plan, but is this plan producing results? This is what separates consistent achievers from perpetual strivers. They're attached to the destination, not the route. If one path is blocked, they find another. They measure success in outcomes, not effort. Here's what ties all 8 of these traits together. Every single one of them requires you to first develop mastery over yourself, over your emotions, your impulses, your reactions, your internal narrative. You can't practice strategic concealment if anxiety makes you over-explain. You can't embody detachment if you're running on self-doubt. You can't build silent leverage if impatience drives you to demand immediate recognition. This is why genuine self-mastery isn't optional. It's the foundation beneath every single one of these traits. And building that foundation requires more than inspiration. It requires a structured system, consistent habits, and a clear path. That's exactly what the Self-Mastery Bundle provides. And you can learn more in the description below. Now take one of these 8 traits, whichever one sparked something in you, and commit to practicing it deliberately for the next 7 days. Not all 8. 1. Watch how your interactions shift. Watch how people respond to you differently when you approach situations with strategic intelligence rather than emotional reactivity. And through all of it, remember, this knowledge exists to protect you and help you create better outcomes, not to harm anyone. The most valuable person in any room isn't the most aggressive or the most dominant. It's the person who understands what's actually happening and uses that understanding to make things better for everyone involved. Drop a comment telling me which of these 8 traits you're going to start with. I genuinely want to know. And after you do that, make sure you watch the next video appearing on your screen right now. It's a 10-minute summary of the psychology of money, and you should watch it because understanding how money actually behaves psychologically is the perfect companion to everything we covered today. Strategic intelligence without financial intelligence leaves massive gaps in your life. That video will close them fast. Click, and I'll see you there.